everybody, this is Michael out in Maui. Aloha. So if you've been enjoying all the content that I've been putting out, I recommend subscribing to the channel. So today let's talk about forehand, the grip, on how do you push the disc. So I thought I'd talk about how do you push with the finger on the disc and where do you want to place the finger, under the disc for maximum, power. So when you're taking your grip, I know there's some different styles, way that people are stacking their fingers. I do just a standard 2-finger grip. You take the middle finger, sits into the plate edge, and the pointer finger just sits right on top. And it just sits there like that. The thumb just sits, on the back. Other 2 fingers are under. So that's my standard grip. I don't really push down on my finger to hold it tighter. It just kind of sits there and helps hold the finger snug, but I don't overly push with the pointer finger onto the middle finger. So the big thing is what angle do you put the middle finger on under the plate? So when you're throwing the disc, the whole throw is with your fingers pushing. This is the power of the forehand. This. When you throw the forehand, your palm is up. You don't roll it over and throw it this way. You always throw palm up. So when you're thinking about, how you're actually throwing the disc, there's 2 ways you don't want to hold your finger under the disc, and one way that works the best. So first, when you put your 2 fingers under the plate, you don't want your pad of your fingers facing straight up into the top of the plate. So I don't know, can you see that? You can see my fingers pushing right into the top of the plate. So with the fingers pushing straight up, it's putting all the pressure, on the side of the finger here, and that's not where your push is coming from. When you throw the disc, you're not pushing with the side of this finger, to throw the disc. So putting your fingers up, straight so they're pushing up isn't the best way, to grab the disc for throwing. Next, if you take your middle finger and you stick it to the side of the plate edge, so you're not pushing up to the top plate, you're actually trying to push the whole finger into the side of the rim. So when you put your finger on the side of the rim, that's not how you want to hold it either. You don't want your finger pushing straight into the side of the rim, because once again, it's not the proper angle for throwing the forehand. If your finger is pushed forward, and the pad is pushing, straight into that edge, it's just the wrong angle for pushing the disc. Because once again, when you throw the disc, your hand's facing up. If you're trying to push the pad of your finger into the edge of the disc, it's the wrong angle because it's rotating your hand up this way. So I can get it under and pushing flat into the side. See that? So you can see how my finger is pushing completely into the side of the rim, and it's just the wrong angle for the throw. Your finger's pushing straight into the side, it pitches the nose down for doing that, because you got to remember, you're throwing it palm up. So you don't want your finger pad going up, and you don't want the whole finger pushing into the rim. So what's that leave us? It leaves you if you dissect your fingernail in half, you know, your middle finger, so right down the middle of the finger, you want that right where the joint is. So right where the top plate and the side rim meet, you want to put your finger right in the middle of that. So the middle of your finger goes right into the middle, or you know, right where the 90 of the edge is, right in the middle. So it's more like that. And what that will do is it now gives you the proper leverage for throwing with your palm up. It's a lot more comfortable, and your fingers fit underneath a lot easier. And you'll notice, like if you just kind of sit here, take your grip, your finger will naturally go right to that middle, you know, where you're splitting half and half. So you have half the finger on the top plate, and then the other half of the fingers pushing on the side plate. And that's the optimal spot for throwing the disc, because once again, it's those fingers, and that's just the perfect spot, you know, for the palm up on the throw. So if you're kind of putting your fingers in those other two spots, you know, palm facing, you know, the finger pad facing up, or if you're trying to put the finger pad completely on the side, I recommend not doing that. Just take that middle finger, split it in half, and then put it right into the joint of the 90-degree, you know, angle that the top plate and the side make. And you're going to notice it fits really nice and comfortable, and will give you a lot better push when you throw the disc. So anyway, so that's the proper grip you want on your fingers for throwing forehand. So anyways, this is Michael out in Maui. Aloha.